Okay, we are live. We have a few participants here on Zoom watching us. And let's just see where we are on Facebook. Is this working here, our stream?
Can you tag us?
There we are. We are on Facebook. We're on Zoom. Welcome back to week 2 of Coffee Talk. I'm your host, Rabbi Efrem Goldberg. We're joined tonight by Rabbi Philip Moskowitz and Rabbi Josh Broide. And I have to say, guys, that among all the classes, among all the programs, among all the things that we've been doing during this difficult crisis and time, I received maybe the most feedback about when we weren't teaching, but rather when we were just talking and being ourselves, when we were letting our proverbial hair, none of the three of us.
Who's got the most hair?
I think I'm in the lead on that one for now.
The most hair was not on our topics for tonight. So I want to begin tonight with a quick Dvar Torah. I figured 3 rabbis are getting together. We got to share just a quick thought. I'll tell you a beautiful thought from Rav Shor. Manashtana halayla zeh. This year, all of us are asking, why is tonight, why is this year different than all years? But every year, Pesach, we say, why is tonight different than all other night? Rav Avram Shor Alakech Valibov says, don't read it, Manashtana halayla zeh. Why is tonight different? He says, Manashtana al yedei halayla zeh. What will be different because of tonight? That we go into the Seder night looking for an experience of transformation, that we want to change, we want to grow, that we want to evolve. It should be a night that leaves us changed forever. Manashtana ayidei halayla hazeh. So, quick thought on the Haggadah. So we're going to begin as we did last week. It's Coffee Talk. Moskowitz actually, I see there as promoting his cup of coffee. We've got some product placement this week, some sponsors. I'll start this week and tell you what I'm drinking. Last week, the next morning after we did Coffee Talk, I woke up to a text by the owner of Shul Winery thanking me for featuring his wine. It's a pleasure. Our friends at Shul did a great job. If anyone else would like to sponsor a bottle of anything, a little product placement, a beverage, have us promote it, we'd be glad. So I want to thank. There's somebody who dropped off at my house. This was about how much was left in it. We'll finish it tonight. Of 30-year-old age Lafroig. I happen to be a huge Lafroig fan. It pairs nicely with the incredible smoked brisket that he dropped off. Also, a huge thank you. You know who you are. If you're watching, thank you so much. Lafroig, if you're not familiar, comes from the island of Isla. It's a very smoky, a very peaty scotch. It's got a very woody flavor. It kind of tastes like you swallowed a campfire. I'm very excited because I'm going to be drinking it in my BRS glass tonight. So we'll make our l'chaim. But that's why, anyway, I want to thank my friend who dropped it off. And this is not what I went through so far during coronavirus. This was
just for the record, I saw that bottle 2 days ago and it was full.
Yeah, for the record, that guy and I have to have a little talk because I didn't get none of that 30-year stuff.
Well, I just want to say one other thing before I make my l'chaim on this glass is it's very important. You know, a lot of the kiddish club guys who think that they're experts, the feinschmeckers who think they know what they're drinking, you know, they'll put ice in their scotch. If you put ice in your scotch, you just showed the world you're an amateur.
Wait, can we go back to that word?
It's a real word, by the way. It's a completely appropriate word, and feel free to look it up. But anyway, you put ice in, you're numbing your scotch, you're taking away everything. It's not the way you drink a scotch. And throwing a scotch back is not the way you drink a scotch either. You're supposed to add a little bit of water. The water opens up the flavor. You're supposed to take off the edge, roll it on your tongue, take in the aroma, swallow it, enjoy it. Even Rackman will tell you that I just got that right. So that's what I'm drinking tonight, a Lafroig from my l'chaim. Rabbi Broide, what do you have for us tonight?
Okay, so first of all, I got some classic Budweiser. Now, this goes great. You talk about pairing this with anything. It really goes great with anything. You could have this with a bowl of cereal in the morning. You can have this for dinner. Doesn't make a difference. In fact, for dinner tonight, I made 2 Impossible burgers, one for Eliana and one for me. And I said, how come you're not taking your burger? I swear this happened tonight. I said, because there's one left on the table. She said, no, I did. I said, 1 second. You took your burger. I'm already halfway through my burger. I looked inside. I had this huge slice of tomato, huge slice of an onion, very thick. I never put the meat in. It didn't taste any different.
Obviously, you had a few of those buds for you. All right, Rabbi Moskowitz, what do you got over there?
First of all, the person just texted me. Apparently, I had some of that 30-year Lafroig on Purim. I just don't remember it too well. But I have actually, in honor of Coffee Talk, I have a cup of coffee courtesy of Cafe Joe, who is my corporate sponsor for tonight. So a big shout out to Aaron Schoenfeld and Josh Karsh from Cafe Joe. And I'm going to make a l'chaim on this cup of coffee. And anyone is interested, I will in all likelihood still be up at 3 or 4 in the morning as a result of this cup of coffee. but it's worth it. Anything from my dear friends at Cafe Joe. So l'chaim to everyone.
Rabbi Moskowitz, could you tell, for the sake of our corporate sponsor to you, where people might be able to get their own pods for a cup of Joe? Where is it available? Where can they get it?
Yeah, so I think if you go on Amazon, they sell on Amazon. I'm sure if you contact me afterwards, I'm happy to put you in touch with them. But Cafe Joe is top-selling coffee in Israel, and friends of ours from the community are the distributors in the United States. And it's phenomenal coffee, delicious. Recently, I've become quite the coffee snob. And I'm a big supporter of Cafe Joe, so it's a great opportunity.
You could fill your caffeine needs and also express your Zionism at the same time. It's a really beautiful thing.
Zionism, anti-BDS, caffeine.
Before our wives run an intervention on us and take us offline, this is all in moderation, responsibly. Obviously, we recognize there are people who shouldn't be drinking. If there are kids who are watching, do everything responsibly in moderation. So l'chaim, to those who are ill, we wish a speedy, complete, and painless refuah shlema. To the world, we wish a complete recovery and a geula, and we should only have the best of everything. So l'chaim.
This bud's from me.
For the record, if you just heard the brachas, you can answer amen on Zoom or Facebook Live. That's for another time. So I want to open up with our first topic for tonight. Just give a little product placement over here for the floor. I want to open up with our first topic for tonight. And that is something that we were all really traumatized by last night. I was asked several times today, what are we going to say? Are we going to have a release? Are we going to put out an email? Are we going to talk about it? How are we going to react? We were violated. Frankly, we were violated through a vicious and a heinous attack. We don't know who the attackers were, but we know they were evil and nefarious. They were wicked people with wicked plans. And we won't rest until we find them and bring them to justice. But the truth is, what was a very holy activity and a holy endeavor was rudely interrupted. Our annual Haggadah night, which we were doing over Zoom, we had about 175, 180 people watching just on Zoom and the other platforms as well. And in the middle of about a third of the way through, Rabbi Camus was concluding a beautiful Dvar Torah when, as been happening to too many people, the Zoom bombing, all of a sudden out of nowhere, my kids were watching, your kids were watching, adults, kids, people of all ages, and all of a sudden people started screaming. They were screaming, "Hail Hitler!" Hitler should have finished the job on your grandparents, calling us slurs of Jewish stereotypes, and there were people disrobing. There were young women taking off all of their clothing, and it was really traumatic. And we tried to disconnect right away. And just tell you the rest of the story, and then I'll hand it off to my co-host there to share their reactions and how they felt throughout the day and how they've recovered from it. But there was really something beautiful to the story, which was that we disconnected the call and we disappeared, obviously, and we started getting a flurry of text from people that said, "Hey, are we resuming? We're back, and it's safe now." And we thought it was over for the night, but it turns out there were 50, 60, 70 people back on Zoom waiting for Divrei Torah. We got right back into it. And in some ways, it's the story of the triumph of light over dark, of good over evil. It's the Jewish story of our history of Shebechol dor v'dor omdim aleinu l'chaloseinu, that in every generation they try to bring us down. Sometimes it's physically, sometimes it's our enemies. Now it's on technology. The Zoom bombers are trying to bring us down with anti-Semitic slurs, but we triumphed. They tried to silence our Torah, and we had a beautiful Haggadah night. So that's what I tried to take off of it, the spin from it. But Rabbi Moskowitz, as the host of the Haggadah night, how did you feel when it was happening? You had the controls, the reins. You were the host of that Zoom call. You had to react quickly. Walk us through what was going through your mind.
Well, first, I didn't realize what was going on. I mean, if you remember, I think Rabbi Camus was speaking and someone came on and said, "He's 100% wrong," or something like that in a more...
Yeah, he's an idiot. He's wrong. My first thought was, I thought, oh no, someone forgot to silence their phone.
So I was starting to panic, and it took me a while to catch up to what was going on, but some of the images caught me up pretty quickly. The truth is, I didn't really know what to do. I want to give a shout out to our colleague, Rabbi Rael Blumenthal, who really, in his millennial self, was able to figure out quickly how to stop that and get us back on. But you actually gave a lowball of the number. We had 95 people that stayed on after we came back, which is extraordinary in my mind. It's actually mind-boggling that 95 people patiently waited for the last 6-7 speakers just because they wanted to learn about the Haggadah. And I couldn't agree with you more, Rabbi Goldberg. To me, the story of the Haggadah night is that Torah always wins. You had people that tried to break it up. You had people that tried to defile it. Honestly, you had people that tried to ruin the Torah. It's not the first time in Jewish history. Probably won't be the last time. And yet, as Jewish history has shown over and over again, Torah will always triumph. And I have to say, personally, I was really touched because I was feeling pretty down about it last night. I was a little humiliated by it. And I got dozens and dozens of texts, emails, Facebook messages from people giving me chizuk, telling me how much they enjoyed it, telling me how despite what happened, they still found it was worthwhile because of all the Torah that was learned. So it's not only a statement about how Torah wins, but it really is a statement about chesed, about ways to do chesed, ways to pick people up, and about what community means. And to me, that's the best of what BRS stands for.
I'll tell you, one of the most meaningful things, we'll go to you in a second, Rabbi Broide, but was that our sponsors of the evening, so Donnie and Miriam Oppenheimer, who I think are with us tonight. By the way, feel free to offer your comments, questions in the chat on the Zoom or on Facebook Live. A little bit harder to follow for me there. That's where I'm looking to the side when I do. But they sponsored Miriam's mom, a very special woman who was actually my wife's teacher and the mother of my dear friend Menashe Shapiro as well, and Rebbetzin Shapiro. And it meant so much to them that we came back and the night finished, because to have a night you sponsor in memory of someone that you love, your mother, be so rudely interrupted, and that's the way that it ends, was so harsh. And the fact that we resumed and we finished it and came back, they mentioned how meaningful it was to them, and that really touched me deeply. Brody, I saw your face when these images came on. I saw, what were you thinking? How did you feel? How did you recover today?
Well, I was just talking to a friend of mine, and they said, well, didn't your IT department, step in? I said, let me explain something about this. We don't have any IT.
We're looking at the IT.
We're hanging on a thread. We don't have, some of the bigger organizations, obviously federations, they have these big IT departments and they have people monitoring, and then obviously that's not what we have. But, I think, I'll be honest, my initial reaction, I think, was like what Rabbi Moskowitz said, that we just thought there was someone challenging something which Rabbi Yachnes was saying. And then it started making me nervous because I'm thinking, there's a good chance everyone on this call could probably challenge something I'm about to say. So I was like, I'm not even going to speak on this call. I'm going to hang up. It's like, this is a hostile crowd. And then,
theory, Brody, what do you think about this theory? Rabbi Yachnes, I was my turn to go next. And if you were to watch, not that any of us would go back and watch for lots of reasons, but if one were to go back and watch the videotape, you'd see that the bombers came on while he said, and now I want to introduce. So my kids have a theory. They think that the bombers were targeting me personally. I said, there's no way. They just saw a Jewish group. What do you think about that theory? Think it was personal?
I think it's a good chance. Well, you know what? We're talking to, again, I'm all in awe right now to be in this little group of rabbis of some of the greatest. These are the greatest rabbis you'll find anywhere. I was just talking to a friend in New Jersey, goes to one of those big synagogues, and he says to me, he says, listen, what's going on there in Florida? He says, we know, everyone up here in New York knows, the biggest synagogue right now is Boca Raton Synagogue. And there's no question, this is what happens. When you become such a big synagogue, you become such a great, great leader. I'm not talking about me, I'm talking about my other colleagues on this line. You're going to become a target. And I'm going to say now in all seriousness, because I was being serious, but you're going to say I wasn't. But in all seriousness, this is a real threat. I'm telling you, you got people out there that are real haters. And, I would hate to think that we're not going to be able to do programs like this because they figured out how to beat us. But there are people, they see what we're doing. We put out the biggest website right now any community has. Dozens of programs every single day on virtual.
I was wondering how long it was going to take you to plug that. There you go.
You see it over there?
No, but we see your legs. With some sun, Rabbi Broide.
Okay. But the bottom line is, you're talking about some serious haters out there. These are people that unfortunately would like to do a lot more than just yell and scream and put, dirty pictures up on a website.
Well, let me ask you an interesting question, actually, and I want to welcome the people who just joined us. I think Uncle Moshe is watching. Did I see my hero, my childhood hero, is watching right now, Uncle Moshe? This is not for Uncle Moshe material, Uncle Moshe. But that's what we're talking about.
One second. Someone just texted me right now. Did you see what I was wearing?
Hold on one second. But anyway, want to welcome the people who are just joining us. We're talking about the fact that last night BRS hosted a Haggadah night. When we've done this in person, we've had 300, 400, 500 people online. We were heading towards those numbers. when we were rudely interrupted by anti-Semites who bombed our Zoom call. Can't happen tonight. We're set up as a webinar. We got it set up totally different, so we're good tonight. The only bomb happening tonight is you had to see Brody's legs for a moment there. But
so far, by the way,
that was pretty traumatic. For most of us, that was pretty traumatic too. But so we're talking about the fact that last night, in the middle of our Haggadah night, all of a sudden a group of anti-Semites came on screaming Hail Hitler and calling us kikes, and that Hitler should have finished the job on our grandparents. And at the same time, there were images of women stripping down to their birthday suit. And it was really, really traumatic. So I want to ask you a question. You know, my kids were watching. They were very traumatized. They're still talking about it, obviously. You know, we try to raise them with a sense of modesty and a focus on modesty. And here they're exposed to profanity, racial slurs, anti-Semitic attack, and to nudity. And I'm curious, for the people you've heard from, and in your own experience, when you shared that in the moment, and we all described that we were shaking, what bothered you most? Was it the fact that we were violated our space? Was it the fact that they were yelling anti-Semitic? Was it the images of the nudity in a sacred space of Torah? What was the thing, if you had to rank it, what caused you to be shaking? What really bothered you the most? Moskowitz, we'll start with you.
It's actually interesting. First of all, I got a few text messages from people saying, should I be bothered, that I was more bothered by the language than I was about the images? And the answer is yes. We are desensitized in large regards to the images that we see, but we hear about anti-Semitism, and that's obviously a trigger for many of us. For me, I knew my son was watching at home, my 12-year-old son at home, and my mind immediately raced to, oh gosh, I hope my wife was there and turned the screen off very quickly. But he got a little bit of an education last night. And you know, the truth is, as you and I say all the time, every challenge is an opportunity. And it's an opportunity to speak to our children about anti-Semitism. It's an opportunity to speak about hatred. It's an opportunity to speak about the images, dangers, and the opportunities of the internet. So, you know, again, obviously,
Moskowitz, are you telling us that you ended up having the talk last night because of this?
I had part of the talk. I had part of the talk.
Which part?
I'm pushing the rest off, but
listen, Uncle Moshe's watching, so we'll leave it there. We're not getting too graphic. Uncle Moshe's on the line. Want to welcome him. He's a childhood hero. Hashem is here. Hashem is there. Hashem is Amish truly everywhere. Even on our Zoom calls, we were able to recover, and it was a beautiful thing. So, Brody, what do you think people were most traumatized by? The profanity, the imagery, or the anti-Semitic slurs? What really bothered us to our core? And here's an interesting, twist.
I got an answer.
Is the interesting twist for everyone to think about is, does what bothered you most reflect a lot about you?
Yeah, maybe it does.
I don't know.
You've got to maybe psychoanalyze me right now, but
no, not doing it tonight.
I didn't see any of the images. The only image I saw was the. Again, it depends, I guess, which screen you were on. There were about 200 people on last night. There were about 7 full screens. I was on the first screen, so I guess whoever was on the first screen didn't see anything. But there was an image that came up. I guess when someone's speaking, that person gets highlighted, right? So you get to see, they take up the whole screen. And there was a point, I guess the only image I saw that was startling was it looked like a skull, and it looked like, I don't remember what it was. It looked like a very scary image. But for me, I would say that it's a lot more scary to hear Heil Hitler, yelled in a group that's a Jewish group by someone that's obviously, saying it with anger and saying it because they really feel like that, like they hate Jews. I'll be honest, I don't think I've ever heard that. I don't think I don't ever heard someone walk into my class or into a room yelling Nazis, we want to kill the Jews. Someone, what else? Is it kikes? No one's ever yelled kike at me before. Yeah. And I felt like they were yelling it at me.
We had close to 200 people maybe in that room. And I think for most, probably it was our first real experience being yelled at those names. I know, you've done March of the Living many years in a row. It's been canceled this year, and some will debate whether we really need to still have it. And we see that this is still going on. I think that's what shook me to my core also, is hearing those anti-Semitic slurs and so brazenly, so openly. Who would say in 2020 in the United States of America? And you know what? The Zoom platform really is our classroom right now. So this is the equivalent of someone walking in the middle of your Chumash shir, in the middle of your Gemara shir, Halacha shir, someone walking in the middle of a program and yelling Hail Hitler and so on and so forth. And I guess the technology only allowed us, if there's any solace, that no one thought that they were going to get shot in that moment. Right. But it really is. But
it almost felt like you were. Do you know what I'm saying? And there was
very vulnerable. You felt very vulnerable. I'll just add the irony of this is that in any other year, all rabbis would be talking about anti-Semitism, Shabbos Agadol. That would have been the trigger topic for this year. Right. Everyone would have been speaking about it, the connect between anti-Semitism and the Seder. And because of the events of the last month, we almost forgot about anti-Semitism. We forgot what a significant issue it was in the beginning of the year for American Jewry. And last night kind of reminded me that while we've kind of pushed that to the side, it's still very much there and very much on our minds.
Yeah, that's a really interesting point, is that this coronavirus has distracted all of us, because even the anti-Semites have to be distancing themselves. And it was a harsh reminder that it's very much alive. All right, we spent enough time. I don't want to give them any more time. We shouldn't give them that victory. But thank you for the people who are posting all the articles and links to how we can try to set up our Zoom or our technology going forward. We're trying to, our IT department, which you're looking at right now, is very much taking this into consideration, trying to implement this. Motzei Shabbos, our Shabbos Agadol Drush will be over YouTube Live, so we can hopefully avoid some of that disaster. But we want to move on from the Zoom bombing. Why don't we go a little bit more lighthearted? The coffee mug. Thank you. My daughter is pushing the coffee. She has replaced the Scotch bottle with the coffee mug. Thank you, stagehand. So let's move over a little bit more lighthearted. Rabbi Moskowitz, tell us, in addition to your incredible leadership in hosting our Haggadah night, you also initiated the first ever BRS virtual talent show. Talk about the talent show. What are some of the talents that have been coming in so far? How is it set up? Maybe some of the people who are watching, and we've got colleagues watching. We've got the CEO of our federation watching, Brody. So be careful.
My wife watching right now.
We've got an incredible group, and frankly, I see that they're really from all over the world. This is very exciting. I think we've kind of broken through. We go, Brody. Well, way to go. So Moskowitz, we've got really talented people on here. Now, is there a rule, by the way? I know, like some of these shows, if you're professional, then you're ineligible. Like if Uncle Mercy were to submit a video, would he be eligible to win? Or if you're professional, is it only for amateurs? Can professionals compete? What's the rule? Tell us about the talent show.
So basically, maybe last week, we were all sitting around. Everyone was very down. Community needed a pick-me-up. We needed a couple of laughs together. And we decided to put out this BRS virtual talent show, where basically people can videotape themselves up to 5 minutes doing a talent, a skill, something silly, something absurd, send it in. We're going to take the top 5 videos that come in. We're going to send them out to the BRS membership to be voted on. And the top 2 are going to receive gift cards to Ditmas, a kosher restaurant here in Boca Raton. So far, we have received the most incredible videos. Someone today just sent me a video of himself singing a song, which was phenomenal. We have kids in the community who are doing shtick, where they're, bouncing balls downstairs right into a cup. It's like incredible what's coming in. And as my wife is texting me, I'd like to give a shout out to her. It was actually her idea, the talent show. So
most
thank
of
you,
our best ideas, for sure. The Rebbitzins.
Well, one second. Did she just tell you to tell them it was my idea?
She just tell me to say it. Now I'm going to get a text saying, why'd you tell them that I told you to do that? But I want to encourage everyone, send stuff in. We've got phenomenal videos. We've got kids, we've got adults, we've got older people in the community sending us.
Give us some of the, what's the rule? Can professionals, can amateurs, how do you, what's the rule?
We're making the rules right now. So this is the team. So we'll take anything. We'll take any video. That's
1 second. You're telling me the IT team, IT department is the same?
The IT department will be judging the contest.
Good.
I like it. Brody, is that a new talent of yours right behind that you're trying to offer?
No, but let me tell you something. I remember back almost 20 years ago, Rabbi Goldberg and I, we went on a teen mission to Israel during the Intifada, 2002, I think it was. And then I don't know if you remember this, where we actually, I think we were just looking for an activity to do with the teens, and we did a talent, and you won.
Do you remember what I did? I do.
Yeah.
I do. It's still a talent. I don't want to have to go and get it now, but it's a talent. I learned it in my youth. I competed, I participated competitively in it. You remember what it was?
Don't tell them how many you can do. Let Phil see if he can guess.
Tell everybody what it was.
Juggle?
No. How many spoons do you think I can hang from my face at one time?
It's amazing. The average person, maybe 2 or 3 would be impressive.
One on the nose. That's what I would say.
One on the nose.
I think it was like 8?
8. I can do 8. You know what? I think you just gave me my idea for my video.
There you
I was
go.
going to do my impersonation of Bernie Sanders. Enough. But anyway, maybe I'll do tell us about the piano. What's going on with piano over there?
Oh, it's
Bring us up
great.
to date from last week.
We're going to submit a video next week. Wait a second. When's the talent show? When is it?
BMSonline.org/ what's it? Talent show? One of those. I don't remember. I'll get it for you in a second.
Amazing. I want our audience to know that when we resume our coffee talk, we're going to actually be bringing in musical guests going forward. We got some lined up incredible musical guests. We're going to interview them. Maybe they'll sing a song. And with musical guests, Josh Broide. We're going to bring in a musical guest. Those who know what that's talking about.
BRSonline.org/talent show.
It's going to be amazing.
Submit your videos.
I want to move over to the next serious subject. We're trying to go back and forth here between a little bit more light because all of us need a little bit of a break, l'chaim, and some of the heavy too. So let's go to a little bit more heavier topic. And we're treading on thin ice here. I'm a little bit concerned and nervous to do it, but I think it's an important conversation that needs to be had. And that is, who has it harder right now, teachers or parents? Now, the reason I bring this up is because as rabbis, we can sometimes get sandwiched in between, where on the one hand, we're hearing from parents who say, and nobody shoot the messenger right now, I'm just relaying some things that I've heard, and to open it up to a discussion and to hear what you have to say. Again, you can feel free to share your opinion in the chat, either in the Zoom or in the Facebook Live, wherever you like. But we're hearing from some parents who say, look, you know, the teachers deserve to be appreciated. They're extraordinary. They're underpaid, underappreciated. General teachers are amazing. We love them. We appreciate them. But, you know, teachers are very blessed right now that for the most part, they're still getting their salaries. And even with all the effort, this is the parents' perspective. I'm not saying it's accurate, that teachers, because they're putting up a couple Zooms a day or putting together a few videos a day, it really represents a fraction of their normal teaching time. So maybe teachers who are about to go on a 2-week Pesach vacation and they're teaching only part of the time. So on the one hand, parents feel, you know, I want to get appreciated. I'm also doing half the job. But I want to tell you there's another perspective. And that's why I wanted to bring this up tonight, because there's the teacher's perspective. I want you to know, I was sitting today, my kids rotate. I sit with different each day and listen to them and try to help supervise with their work. And, you know, you get to do something you don't get to normally do, which is you get to observe your kids' teachers. When do you ever do that? Could you imagine you show up at school and you're like, yeah, I'm just going to sit in the back of the classroom. I'd like to observe you teach my kid. No one can ever do that. And here we are having the opportunity to do that. And I want you to know something. When I was watching these teachers who have to adapt, who perhaps spent an entire career, but not doing it on technology platforms, or who have to manage a classroom where they're not in the same room and keep everyone's attention and try to discipline. Teachers are doing an extraordinary job while their own kids have to get their education, and while they're fearful about how they're going to pay their bills, and while there's so much else going on. Teachers truly are our heroes. They're underappreciated. They're having to adapt. They're having to manage, and there's an extraordinary amount that's going on. So I don't know, like I said, it's dangerous to bring up the subject. I just think that, like with many other things, it's important for each side to hear the other side and to think about the perspective of the other side, and to realize that, you know, everyone's just hurting. Everyone's just scared. Everyone's just worried, and maybe they don't know how to communicate that. So I guess I raised it to just make a call to say, hey, parents, maybe you feel you're underappreciated, or you're partnering with the teacher, or, you know, you're unemployed at the moment and you're worried. Don't take that out on the teacher. Be appreciative, show gratitude, talk respectfully, talk how you can partner. And teachers, you know, realize that when a parent maybe talks that way, they're concerned, they're going through their own stuff, they're worried, they're angry. So I guess it's just a call for everybody to see it from the other side, and to see things in context and perspective, and to realize we're partners in this. So anything you have to share on that dangerous topic that you both look like?
This is the part of the show where Phil's going to say something which he's then going to have to apologize for and walk back. So Phil, go ahead.
No, that was last week. No. Listen,
the teachers all love Rabbi Moskowitz.
Obviously, I agree. I have enormous respect for the teachers. I mean, Rabbi Goldberg, you and I, we say all the time, we teach for a living, and yet we find teaching on Zoom to be infinitely more challenging than teaching in person. It's more draining. We find ourselves more exhausted at the end of the experience. So I get it. I get both sides. I get that parents are anxious. Parents are feeling the uncertainty. Parents are managing job or job loss, the children at home, helping keep the children occupied. And teachers, in many respects, are being forced to turn over their entire platform. Everything they've done, some of these have done it for 15, 20 years, all of a sudden overnight into technology. The only perspective I'll add is a perspective that was shared to me by a teacher, and it touches upon what you said, Rabbi Goldberg. teacher said, for me to go on Zoom now and to teach my students, knowing that the parents are observing my classes as I'm doing it, is literally like bearing my soul in front of parents. Literally like opening up myself and saying, here I am as a professional, judge me. And for teachers, that's really putting themselves out there. And many, especially in the younger grades, are not as used to that. And many of them feel very violated when parents respond in turn and with vitriol and really inappropriate feedback. So that's where I agree with you all wholeheartedly. Each side needs to appreciate what the other side is feeling. And I think you touched upon the key word for me, and that's partnership. It's not one or the other. No one's working harder. Everyone's really in this together to make sure that we're providing an education for our children, that we're providing them with a certain sense of stability in these crazy and uncertain times. And the more we focus on that word partnership, I really believe that the most important person in this equation, which is our children, are going to succeed.
You made that great point about the vulnerability. And maybe, I don't know, maybe we have an idea that the teachers should get to tap into the camera in the home for when they're not teaching, so that they can judge the parents on how they're parenting. And then it will all be equal. That's not a real suggestion. It's an attempt at some humor, as I'm already regretting bringing up the topic. But I don't regret it, because the truth is we're not trying to fan the flames of a controversy. We're actually trying to do the opposite, which is, you know, as Rabbi Moskowitz just said, we're really just calling on everybody to see other perspectives, to appreciate where they're coming from, and that this is a time where the temperature's up for everybody, and to realize that we're all in together. It's a partnership. A lot of people are leaving their comfort zone, doing things they're not used to doing, both on the teacher side and the parent side. So if we can show some empathy and to see it from the other side, we can all do better. So we have amazing teachers. Our teachers are outstanding. They're incredible. They didn't have time. It's not like they spent a whole year going to seminars and having planning meetings that when the virus strikes in 5 years, what will we do? This whole thing happened overnight. And yet look how school was transformed, and people who aren't necessarily tech savvy, or people who are shy by nature and they're okay teaching a group of young students, now have all these parents in the room with them. They've really adapted and modified really quickly. Our schools are doing our best. Our teachers are doing our best. And by the way, parents are doing their best. When they lash out, or when they react, maybe it's not lashing out. I think there is a parent perspective here too. They're doing their best. A lot of people are really scared. They're really hurting. And all of us, when we realize that we're all in it together, we can do better. Broide, I see you're itching to say something. What do you want to share?
Yeah, I just think that it's very complicated. Obviously, you have different types of parents that have different opinions. I know that there's some that are thinking, wow, this is working out so great. Save a lot of money in tuition. I could do homeschool next year. And I know that I was talking to Simone. Simone's like, I'll pay double. We'll send the kids back as soon as we can. This is not for us.
I was like, the same thing. Anyone who ever contemplated maybe we could homeschool?
No, it's over. It's over in 1 week. And then even this morning, I saw Eitan was on school. You know, he's only 5. He's in, I guess, the EC4 program at Hillel. And I hear him fighting with a Hoover. So I go in and say, first of all, Hoover, like, why are you in this room? Like, he makes this is his class. And then I realized they've been fighting for 10 minutes. The mute is off. There's no mute. So meanwhile, poor Cindy Halpstein is trying to this class. My kids were arguing with her for 10 minutes. This is what's going on.
Where were the parents?
I was talking to Matt. I was talking to you guys.
Matt, can you confirm whether you had a conversation with Broide today at all?
I was with all of you. It was a rabbi's call. Of course, where was Simone? That's the question.
I just make one more serious point about this, and I think it really needs to be made. I do believe that there are ways to give feedback that are appropriate, and there are inappropriate ways to give feedback. And I think it's important for parents to realize that even if they're frustrated, and even if they're anxious, and even if they're uncertain, they have to maintain that standard of derech eretz when they give the feedback to the school, not to go on social media and in an inappropriate fashion, call out teachers, make them feel more exposed, but there are appropriate channels to do so. And again, I just think that point needs to be made. The schools want to do good. The schools want to improve. They know it's not a finished product, but to go on and to take inappropriate formats to launch this, again, I'll really call it like a vitriol, which some parents are doing. I think that is inappropriate as well.
I'm with you. It actually brings us to a bigger and broader topic. Maybe we can transition. It's related, but I do want to give a shout out because I was sitting next to my son Shai when he was in class with the amazing Mrs. Brown. And she said to him, not knowing I was sitting next to him, Shai, tell your Abba, I'm really excited for coffee and talk tonight. So I said, I'm going to give her a shout out too. Mrs. Brown, thank you for all your hard work and everything you're doing. We really appreciate it. So, you brought up a good topic, not related directly to the parent-teacher issue, but people using social media to share their opinions about things that are really affecting real people in real lives. So, Rabbi Moskowitz had an amazing inspirational words on the OU call the other day. He led the Tehillim with the inspirational 5 minutes. And I wanted to be clear for the record. He and I had a bet beforehand. I told him he was going to have more people on his call and better feedback. He told me he was going to have, I think his answer was 1/5 of the people. And we went Price is Right rules on this.
All right.
And Naftali Herman, if you're listening or watching, you can put in the chat and confirm it's true. Rabbi Moskowitz had not only more people on his than I did, but he had more positive feedback, more donations came into the OU for him, which is interesting. He went to the OU for Rabbi Moskowitz. We should definitely get a cut of that at BRS and our Tomchei Shabbos needs. But anyway, no, the OU is great to us. They do great stuff for us. So on that call, Rabbi Moskowitz told a story about a problem he had with JetBlue. So he found online the JetBlue CEO's email and was able to get in touch with him and ask him for help. And the CEO appointed someone who responded to him. And never underestimate the Jewish people's ability to try to recover money when we feel that it was inappropriately taken from us. Rabbi Moskowitz was able to find that and get that back. So it's interesting that Rabbi Moskowitz, you found the email and contacted him. You didn't do what many other people do today, which is you didn't take to social media to say, nobody fly JetBlue, it's the worst, I hate it, can you believe what they did to me? And that's what many people do to try to get attention. But I raise that to say that, it's one thing if you do that to JetBlue, and JetBlue is also made up of shareholders and their employees, and it's going to impact people when you do that. But it's one thing when you do that with a corporation, but it always shocks me when people go on social media and talk about a local restaurant. They'll talk about the school, the shul, the rabbis, the educators. They'll talk about local people that they interact with, real lives, real parnasa, real reputation, real feelings. There've got to be better ways for us to communicate more directly, more productively, more respectfully than by taking to these platforms which really hurt people negatively. So every time, and I always wonder, someone had a never in Boca, because our kosher restaurants are all amazing and people should continue to order takeout from them and buy cards for them that you're going to give to other people. But if you had a negative experience, the waiter took a while to get to you or the food wasn't cooked the way you want it, maybe the waiter had a bad night. Maybe the cook had a bad night. You never have a bad day in your business. So when you take to social media and you rank on them or tell everyone not to, what are you trying to do? Hurt a community, deprive it of another kosher restaurant? What's the end game with that? Did it make you feel better? But is that how we measure things? So anyway, what do you guys think about that? Moskowitz, tell us about your JetBlue story. Did you think about going on online and ranking all over JetBlue?
So I did. I was enormously frustrated. JetBlue completely mistreated my family. I was really upset about it. And as I said on the call, the most frustrating part
Be careful. I'm a Mosaic member here. Be careful.
Okay, I'm not. That's why I have to tag along with you. But the most frustrating part to me was that I couldn't get anyone to take me seriously. Like I really felt if there was someone to just listen to me, then I could plead my case and they would give me what I felt was rightfully coming to me. So I did think about going on Facebook and writing something about JetBlue and getting their attention that way. And then I realized that's no different than one of my children, that when they want attention, they kick and they scream and they yell and they throw a hissy fit because they know that's how they're going to get my attention. And I really, out of a whim, I said, you know what? I'm just going to email the CEO. And it's going to be one of those stories. Either he ignores it or someone gets back to me. I Googled. I wrote a very respectful letter.
Were you hoping when you wrote the email, did you already have like the drush you were going to give out of this in mind?
No, because I didn't know how it end. But it was we were actually at APAC. It was like midnight after APAC, and I wasn't even in Boca at the time. And I wrote a very respectful letter. My whole argument to the CEO of JetBlue was part of the reason why I love JetBlue is their customer service. And that's why I couldn't understand why they would treat someone that way, ruin so many years of goodwill over a nominal thing. And to be honest, I was so surprised. The call I got the next day couldn't have been any nicer. It was this lovely lady who works in the corporate office there. She's worked there for 17 years. And she told me that the reason why she loves working there is because she gets to fix problems. She said she loves making phone calls like this and helping people out with issues. And that's how you keep clients. That's how you keep people coming back.
That's a beautiful thing. I just want to give a shout out because I saw he's watching. I hope he's still watching. But my colleague, my dear friend, Rabbi Korobkin, who's the president of the RCA right now, is doing an outstanding job, the RCA, in really meeting the needs of this crisis. But I want to also wish him a mazel tov. His son got married last week and wasn't planning on talking about this, but I see he's watching. I hope he's still watching. Maybe he'll be a guest in a future coffee talk, get the inside scoop at the RCA, Rabbinical Council of America. His son got married in California. Rabbi Korobkin is a prominent rabbi of the Bayit in Toronto. And Rabbi Karamkin was not at his son's wedding. He watched on Zoom his son's wedding, because that's what leadership is. It's modeling for others. And if we're distancing and you're not able to travel, and that's what it takes, and that's real heroism. That's a real sacrifice, a real loss. In fact, I hope I won't embarrass him or violate confidence with him, but I was on a little chat with a few rabbi friends, and I guess everyone was talking about what's going on or complaining about something. And he wrote, "Stop complaining. In 15 minutes, I'm about to attend my son's wedding online." And it put a lot in perspective. Again, I hope, please forgive me if I just...
Could you guys have done that? You both just made weddings in the last year. Could you guys have done that?
Yes, it's a good question. First of all, I could definitely do that. It would save I'm trying to convince the rest of my children to get married in the next 30 days, since that's the stay-home order through the end of April. So I got 6 daughters. One of them is married. I'm looking for a shidduchim for the next 5. If you have suggestions, trying to get them all married in the next 30 days. The rest of them, the youngest is 10, but is that legal in this country? I don't even know. We'll go for it. So could we have done that? I don't know, Brody, could we have done that? It's a good question. It's a good question, but
I don't know. I would say delay it.
I want to wish that mazel tov to Rabbi Karamkin. It's a good question to delay it. This is a good transition to our next topic, because, the goal of a wedding, it's possible my son-in-law is sitting 6 feet to my left, by the way, while we're doing this right now. I love him. We'll say a quick little, hey, Mikey.
Hey, Mikey.
And I love my son-in-law. My son-in-law is my son. I love him. The goal of a wedding is to be married, right? You don't get married so you can have a wedding. There are some immature people who they're in a rush to get married because they've always dreamt about their wedding, and that usually doesn't end well. Instead, you have the wedding because the goal is to get married. That's the whole goal. I remember I was visiting somebody very special to us who was unfortunately on her last legs in her few last days, and I was sitting with her daughter talking, and the daughter told me a story that on her wedding day they had spent an enormous amount of time making sure they had the right flowers, the right decor, and the flower truck pulled up, and I guess she was getting her makeup, her hair done, and her mom came in, and her mom said to her, like, really braced herself, and I have terrible news, and you'd be very upset. And what is it? She said, the whole flower arrangement, the theme that we chose, they messed it up. They have a different, the truck is here, it's all wrong. So she stopped for a moment. It's an amazing woman in our community. And she looked at her mom and she said, "Mom, in 3 days, the flowers will be dead, no matter which ones they were, and I'll be happily married." I love that. In 3 days, the flowers will be dead and I'll be happily married. It was such a great perspective. So I think about that, Rabbi Karamkin's heroism, his son's heroism. And I guess Rabbi Karamkin put his son's happiness, that the whole purpose of the wedding is to be married. Don't delay that. Be married. Start your Bais Nema B'Yisrael. We're going to defeat this virus and this pandemic by letting it not stop us or slow us down, but continue to live life and build life. And he was willing to sacrifice his own being there in order to do that. And I think that's really something which is outstanding. What do you think?
Brody, you just made a wedding. What do you think?
I would say just delay it a couple weeks, rock and roll right after this virus is over. I think, listen, if the kids wanted to do it, I wouldn't say no, but I would imagine that people want to celebrate together. It's not like a bris where it has to be done at a certain time, like it's not now or never. It's now or in a few weeks. Let's do it in a few weeks.
No, but what about the argument that you do the private chuppah because the goal of the wedding is to be married, and when this all passes, you have the biggest and most amazing party of all time. So you get win-win.
That's an opinion.
Moskowitz, you're going to be making a bar mitzvah soon. First of all, Moskowitz, can you move that cup because it looks like it's superimposed? It looks like an image which isn't real. Lift the cup for a second. Oh, it's real. Look at that.
There's no coffee in that. There's nothing in there, right?
What was in there? Water?
I'm going to be shaking at 4. No, it's a cup of coffee, and I'm going to be shaking.
It's empty. Turn it over.
No, here, hold on. I'll spill it out. No. So
it's empty. He's got an empty cup. There's nothing in it.
There's the coffee. I just finished the cup. But
nice. My cup's also empty.
Listen, you guys, obviously, we're all talking here, but if push comes to shove, these are the situations that my heart bleeds for so many people. But those who, the Rabbi Karamkins of the world, people who have to sit Shiva on Zoom and can't be with family, I can't even, having been through that, I can't even fathom what it would be like not to have that support system. So much of our religion is predicated on community. We feel it when it comes to tefillah, but seaboard, davening, Shabbos, but weddings, funerals, brises, so much of this is community. And we take for granted how much our community, our friends, our support system enhances those experiences and gives us comfort. So again, I know you guys had your cookie cutter answers, but the honest truth is, I can't even fathom I literally can't even fathom making a wedding without being there with my children, having a shiva where I can't be with siblings and family and have people come and comfort me, having a bris and not having people to celebrate alongside. To me, it's one of the great tragedies of what's going on.
Yeah, I think we're grieving a lot of loss. Actually, I'm going to talk about that on Saturday night in the Motzei Shabbos Agol, the Drusha, about the sense of grief that we're all feeling. Even the people who, thank God, are amazingly blessed to not directly be affected by this are all, so to say, grieving from things that are different. Innocence, which was lost, these occasions which can't be fully honored or celebrated or marked or mourned. And there's that element, I think, in all these ways, which is, it's the tragedy, behind the tragedy of this thing, which is really, really sad, So it'll be interesting to hear that perspective of the people going through it and the differences. Someone posted some question.
What do you guys think about?
How does Rabbi Brody keep his teeth so white? Oh, Brody, we got a question. If you look under question and answer there, how does Rabbi Brody keep his teeth so white?
Are they saying that you don't, just compared to you guys? What are they saying? Is it like on a scale of what?
It's all the coffee.
It's all the coffee.
Yeah,
well, actually, I'll be honest, they're not real.
Right. Are those veneers?
Veneers.
Is that what they're called?
I'm just kidding. Of course they're real. They're real. Everything's real. This is real gray right here. Some have natural gray.
All right, so someone texted me a question, Rabbi Goldberg.
Yeah.
That I'll ask you. Last week we spoke about some of the significant halachic shilas that have been asked and certain precedent in halacha that's emerging from this entire, tragic episode. So last week we discussed Zoom seders and the psak halacha that had come out from that. Someone just texted me recently. Your predecessor, our Rabbi Emeritus, Rabbi Kenneth Brander, was featured in a Times of Israel article as saying that
breaking up on me a little bit,
as saying that cremation in instances of coronavirus where there's a risk of it being spread is not just permissible, but is actually a mitzvah. That was the headline of the article, and that's what was being forwarded around. Rabbi Brander, I know, subsequently walked his statements back in a comment to the RCA. But I'm curious, as the current leader of Boca Raton Synagogue, and I know it's on many people's minds, what do you feel about this? What do you feel about these types of halachic leniencies that we're relying on in this time period, taking into account the historical context of Jews and disease and plague that we discussed last week versus our fidelity to halacha?
Yeah, well, the first thing I think is that you're going to be looking for a new job when this is over. The second thing I think about
did you see what Tamar Goldberg just texted?
Tamar Goldberg wants you to be careful right now.
Be careful, Abba.
I don't even need help being careful. I'll tell you the truth. Rabbi Brander is not only my predecessor, he's my close friend. I have a lot of respect. I learned an enormous amount from him, and he gave me incredible opportunities in my life, and for that I'll forever be appreciative. I think this is a classic case of some journalistic sensationalism. I think that they're both right. I think that Rabbi Brander obviously is very devoted to halacha, and he understands that cremation is just something that's beyond the scope and it's beyond us. And it's a great tragedy of our time. It's the fastest growing option of burial or end of life decisions in Florida. And there's amazing efforts happening to fight cremation. Maybe in the future we'll have Rabbi Zone and Rabbi Jay Lyons on. We'll talk about what they're doing in Florida to fight cremation. It's brilliant and innovative. So Rabbi Brander knows that and believes that. He didn't mean mitzvah in the context that he would, of course, God forbid, support cremation. The journalist posed it to him in the sense that if it would save a life, in other words, if it would contain the virus, and that were the only option. And what Rabbi Brander was saying was, it's a mitzvah to do whatever you need to do to save a life. And the journalist sensationalized it to create a controversy that's not even there to begin with. I give him the benefit of the doubt on that. I know that he believes that, knows that he's doing great things. These are stressful times. So I think we probably all agree on that, which is that cremation should not be an option. Cremation is just out of the realm for all the reasons which we're not going to talk about right now, though. It's a big topic. I can't tell you how many times I've been called by somebody who says, I have a relative who wants to be cremated. I need to talk them out of it. What should I say? That's a difficult, tough topic. Maybe our outreach rabbi can walk us through what you say. So Rabbi Brander knows that. I think we're on the same page about that. I think we're also on the same page that we got to fight this virus and do what's necessary. Pikuach nefesh, saving a life supersedes everything else. So it was journalistic sensationalism trying to make a story where there is none. But thank you for that.
As a rabbi, how do you counter that, right? You're putting psak halacha out there. Psak halacha, as we discussed last week, is nuanced by definition. But once it's out there, it kind of takes on a life of its own, as we saw by the Zoom case, as we saw by the case of cremation. So walk us through. You get a call from a journalist. you get a call from the local TV saying, we want a commentary from an Orthodox Jewish perspective on, X, Y, or Z. So what goes through your mind in terms of answering that question? What are your concerns, and how do you prevent your words from being misconstrued?
So here's one of those areas where I grew a lot in the rabbinate. When I first started, I was excited. Any opportunity, you know what they say in that, like, no publicity is bad publicity as long as they spell your name right. I know Brody still believes that, like his heroes who, to preserve his job, I won't mention who they are right now. But as you know, there's no bad publicity as long as you spell my name right. So when I was first a rabbi, it's exciting. A reporter contacts you. A journalist wants your opinion about something. It's super exciting. So first of all, I think you have to be really judicious and smart that who you weigh in on, who you take a pass, who you say no comment, who you even don't get back to, because no comment becomes a comment and a story. So there is an art and a skill to learning that. But I'll tell you the biggest move and the difference that I do now is whenever someone contacts me a story about a hurricane, anti-Semitism, high holiday sermon thoughts, coronavirus, I say, would you do me a favor? Could you email me your questions? And I'm happy to send you back answers. And when I do that, I know that way they're taking my words the way I wrote them. And I say to them that they only have permission to quote exactly from what I wrote to them and answering their questions. Because when you do an interview on a phone, I don't know, these journalists, it's amazing. They sit with a pen and paper and you give this real, like we're speaking really quickly right now. They're like scribble 3 things. And then the quote that they produce bears so little resemblance to what you tried to say. So it's not even efficient or effective. So I always say, I'm happy to, thank you, I'm honored. Thank you for including me in your story. It would be much easier for me if you send me your questions. I'm more than happy to write you a few answers, as long as you agree to quote directly from those answers. And that way, again, they could always quote part of it and out of context, but at least to a certain degree, you have an element of control over the answer you're given.
The best part is when the reporter asks you on the phone, can you repeat what you just said? I'm like, no, I cannot repeat it.
Like I was on a roll. I have no idea.
Hope you got it the first time.
They're like, don't you have that little tape recorder that they always have when they're supposed to? What happened to the little tape recorder? So, yeah. It's a good question, though, about the journalist. That question was good. Gentlemen, what else is on your mind tonight? I'll tell you another thought on my mind. We're having a debate right now that I'm not sure if we're going to get in another coffee talk before Pesach. So Rabbi Moskowitz and I are having a little debate. Really interesting. The question of whether we should host a Zoom Yizkor service on Chol HaMoed Pesach. And there's 2 sides to this. On the one hand, and of the 3 panelists on here, I'm deeply appreciative to Hashem that I'm the only one of the 3 of us who has not had this experience, does not say Yizkor for an immediate loved one. So I actually see that my opinion is the least authoritative or significant. I significantly defer to both of you. So on the one hand, and I'd like to hear you weigh in a moment, but on the one hand, there's power to saying Yizkor with a group, to being with an assembly of people who have all experienced loss, to have a chazan lead the Yizkor and then fill in your own liturgy for your own loss. On the other hand, I've had a concern throughout this entire episode, which is how do we unwind some of this when this is over? So what happens next year when, please God, this is behind us and someone says, hey, Rabbi, instead of doing Yizkor in Shul, why don't you do Yizkor in Chol HaMoed? There's so many people who have trouble getting to Shul. The woman can't get to Shul on time, or it's hard if you have kids, whatever the case is. And then we say, no, you can't do it online. They say, well, what do you mean? You did it last year online. So I think we have to have a certain sense of mindfulness about the things we're doing now. Can we unwind them later when things are going to be different? So, and I don't have an answer. We're actually debating this and considering it right now. There's, I think, merits to both sides of this argument. But what do both of you have to say?
Yeah, so maybe I'll jump in, give Rabbi Brody a chance to tap into his emotions. But
Brody, Mark Weinschneider wants you to look at your text.
Yeah. I'll just share this. I think
Really?
that I think that that many people who have never said Yizkor before don't understand fully the emotional connection that people have with the recitation of Yizkor. I agree 100%. The community side of it is enormous. And, we've debated this in the past before. I think it's completely the wrong thing to do, that people walk out of Shul on Yizkor. I've given class about that. Obviously, I defer to the minhag of the Shul, but I think it's so counterintuitive to everything that we believe in, that as a person is in their most vulnerable stage, they're thinking about a loved one, they're feeling those emotions, and then basically we say, sorry, my parents are alive, better luck next time, I'll see you in a couple minutes. And as someone who stays into the room, certainly someone who started off very young staying in the room, it's a horrible feeling. I happen to not like Yizkor, I don't connect to it, but I do connect to the feeling of everyone walking out and making me feel like I'm alone standing there. So
do you know any shuls where the people stay?
Yes, there are shuls where people stay. Not many, but there are definitely shuls where people stay. And it's based on that. First of all, the sources give a little bit of leeway to that. And also it's based on that notion that here you have this community setting where you're asking people to grieve and to mourn. And even if we know that wasn't the source of Yizkor, that's essentially what it's become. And it's a really icky feeling to watch half the room, 3/4 of the room walk out on you. It's a very, very lonely feeling. And to me, again, I'm just sharing honest, it's the most traumatic part of Yizkor. It is watching everyone leave. So I think that anything that we could do, I agree. Kabbalah Shabbos, Hallels, I get the whole slippery slope concept, and I get it by Yizkor also. I just think that for Yizkor, there's such an emotional component to it that to not allow people to tap into that is really hard. Again, now that could be our fault, that we set Yizkor up to be this thing that really shouldn't be, but that's what it is now. And I think I think we have to think really hard about ways to give people that opportunity to tap into Yizkor, to tap into that connection with their loved ones, to do something on behalf of their loved ones. And that's why you and I have been debating it, because I feel very, very torn about it. I feel very torn about it.
I don't think we're debating even between the two of us. We're both debating the merits of both sides.
No, 100%. Yes, correct. It's not me versus you. Together, we are debating the pluses and minuses of doing it. And I feel very conflicted internally as well.
Brody, as somebody who's been saying Yizkor from a relatively young age also, what are your questions?
I'll tell you, Yizkor to me was always this mystery. I remember growing up in Elizabeth, and we used to walk outside. Rabbi Tice told everyone, you leave. I always wondered what everyone was doing. And there's this major service going on. We're standing outside. And then when I remember my first Yizkor, and even subsequent Yizkors up until right now, because you're not there, Phil's there, but he's on the other side. And I always wonder, the whole service, there's really nothing. The service is, I don't even know what the service is. I can't look over to you and see what you're saying because you're not saying it. But essentially you're saying like a Kel Male, you're saying one other small paragraph, Yizkor paragraph. And I'm thinking, why did everyone just walk out for 2 paragraphs? I mean, the whole thing can literally take you 1 minute. And I don't know what everyone else is saying. So it's a strange service. You're supposed to feel like this whole emotional thing. I don't really, you know me, I have my own issues with my own emotions, obviously. But
lack of them.
So maybe I'm the wrong guy to ask about this, but it doesn't, I'm sort of mystified why everyone's walking out. I thought it was gonna be this very emotional, you're going through this whole thing about people that passed away. It's very quick. I think most people are saying it and they're done. And then it's like they're waiting for the people to come back in.
Yeah.
I'll just add, I'm usually not up on the Bima with you because Rabbi Goldberg usually leave, and I'm not usually with Rabbi Broide. I'm usually up on the Bima. And if you stand next to Martin Judovitz, when he says Yizkor, it's a very different experience. I'll just share with you.
That's because he's had dozens of people in his family that were murdered. You know what I mean? It's like a different thing. Like I got one person I'm saying it for.
Let me fill in our audience. Martin Judovitz is an amazing Holocaust survivor who is beloved by our whole community, and for years he's been leading. What we do, I won't say it's a happy compromise between the two because clearly it's not meeting that need, but as opposed to the stark hate, Yizkor, everybody leave, what we say is we're starting Yizkor, everybody stay. We're going to say the Kel Male for the martyrs of the Holocaust, the Kel Male for those who gave their lives to the founding of the State of Israel and supporting the State of Israel, and we say Kel Male for the members of our community who we've lost. And only then do we pause for those who want to take leave. And when they take leave, we've instituted and we leave outside actually the text of a tefillah to say for living relatives so that time is not squandered in idle gossip, but it's used praying for the people who are still alive. So even there is a moment or part of Yizkor where everyone is still in, and that's the part that Martin Judovitz, and please God, for many, 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 many years will continue to so emotionally lead us in the Kel Male for the martyrs of the Holocaust. The reason this discussion is interesting is because, the many people watching on Facebook Live, on Zoom, I'm sure have opinions on this, but I hope you also get a little insight, which is to why we started this coffee talk, how we make these decisions. Lest you think you got an email that either announced we're going to have a virtual Yizkor or we're not. That wasn't a whim. That wasn't someone texting saying, hey, should we include it or not? We sit and we agonize and we deliberate and we weigh the merits of both sides. And this is what communal leadership is about, trying to figure out what's right and recognizing the two sides to the issue and try to come out with what you think is the best. And hopefully this gives you a little bit of an insight into some of the thinking and debating and deliberating that goes on behind it.
100%. I'll just respond. There's a comment in the Zoom that Yizkor is supposed to remind you of your loss. When everyone leaves, it emphasizes that you are more alone than you were before you lost the person. I never viewed it that way. again, maybe that's correct. I'm not sure where that's from, but let's remind, Yizkor is still during Yantif. You're in Shul with everyone else. We've made it a very somber thing, but I think specifically on Yantif, it's that community component, which is why we do it. And so again, to me, it's just, it almost pours salt on a wound. It adds insult to injury when you literally have everyone, when you have everyone walking out. And so I never viewed it that way. I never viewed Yizkor as specifically, I'm supposed to feel lonely. I view Yizkor as we're all in this together. And in fact, I gave a shiur about this on Shavuos last year. I'm very passionate about it. And a few of my friends who were at the shiur actually stayed in for Yizkor on Shavuos to be with me. And I cried more that Yizkor than I ever had before, specifically because my friends chose to stay in and to show me that comfort and to give me that emotional support to lean on. So again, I think there are obviously two very different sides to the story, and you could play out both in your mind. But for those who don't stay in for Yizkor, for those who have the privilege of going out, I'm just trying to share a different perspective on what it's like to stay in, what a person staying in craves and what they look for from the community. And I think even if you go out, there are ways to go out and there are ways to go out. There are ways to go out respectfully. There are ways to go out where you communicate to those who stay in that I feel your pain, that I'm with you, even though I'm going out. And there are ways to go out that are slightly more disrespectful. So
I learned that when I was a younger rabbi, I'm still young, but when I was younger, I used to announce, those who are blessed or fortunate to be able to go out for Yizkor, we're going to pause now. And someone came to me and they said, Rabbi, when you say that, it really stings. It really hurts. Those who are fortunate and blessed to go out, as if the rest of us who are in here are cursed and unfortunate. And I don't know, I was trying to actually give some perspective to say that if you're going out, don't take that for granted. But I heard that person, and since then I've tried to adjust the language, because language is really, really important in how we're communicating feelings, thoughts. We're going to talk about that Motzei Shabbos. Have I plugged the Shabbos Agol Drush enough? 9 o'clock, YouTube Live, and several other platforms. But we're going to talk about, in terms of optimism, the language we're using as we go through this episode. Even there with Yizkor, I learned that language is really important, how you announce that. Are there any rituals you think, let's say we are still going out. Would giving a hug to somebody who's staying in, would giving them an arm squeeze, I don't know if you're allowed to touch anybody ever again, but assuming that we'll ever be allowed to ever touch anyone ever again, would giving like a little arm squeeze, a little hug, a little tap on the back would be a little, is that meaningful? Does it feel like empty gesture? Is it compound the pain? Is there anything, what would you tell people who do leave for Yizkor? What could they do differently to try to be comforting to the people who are staying?
Rabbi Broide, you want to give a shot at that, or is he frozen?
I'm still trying to figure out what Yizkor is supposed to do. I get it when you say, no one's ever spoken to me about this, so I'm not really sure myself. I can see you say Kaddish every day for a year, and you lose a loved one, so you're thinking about them, and you're trying to elevate their neshama over the course of the year. But it's like, to what? So on the Shalosh Regalim or whatever, you're going to say Yizkor to remember them? You remember them every day. It's like, so what are you doing now? You're saying it. I don't even understand. What does it mean? I'm going to remember them today? I don't get it.
Yeah, no, it's a good question. It's a good point. Let's not get into it right now. There's a lot to talk about. It's interesting because even the word Yizkor, we're invoking Hashem and telling him to remember as if God can forget. The word Yizkor is used, the opening pasuk that begins Yizkor is invoking God to remember as if God can forget. But let's say we're not doing like a tutorial. You're asking a very important question and informs this conversation. But again, I think this is one of the themes that we have for tonight, which is that there are two sides to stories. And it's really important to hear both sides, to see both perspectives, and to realize that there are different angles. And one is not necessarily more right, more wrong, more authoritative. Often they're coming from the person's personal experience. And we've talked about it in a few different ways right now, that people project their own personal experience, which often includes they're projecting their own worry, their own fear, their own hurt, their own, and so on. So the people who walk out, they're not trying to hurt somebody who's experienced the loss. They don't know what that's like. And the person who's experienced the loss, they just want the companionship and the support. They're not trying to be, wishing ayin hara on anybody when they're asking them to stay. And there are legitimate views. And again, it comes down to us as communal leaders and people in communal leadership positions everywhere having to make really, really, really tough decisions. It's really easy. I remember, when I was younger, and even right now, all of us do it, to the head of school, to the head of the institution, the organization. Heck, everybody does it to, did I just say heck? Everybody does it to the mayor, to the governor, to the president. When you're not in that seat making those decisions, It's so easy to know what to do. It's so easy. I deal with that all the time. Before I was in the seat making the decisions, I had hair and it wasn't gray. I looked like a young stud. And then you get in that seat and you got to make these decisions. And it's so
easy. You look like an old stud.
I'm an old stud, exactly. But from the comfort,
your beard.
From the comfort of your armchair, it's so easy to always know what to do. It's so easy to know, whether it's having a virtual yizker, to when you should shut down the country, to when you should attack Iran, to when you should this, to when you should. It's so easy to tell the head of school, the rabbi, the governor, the president what to do. When you're in that seat, these are tough decisions, and there's merit to both sides, and you're trying to think it through and hear both sides of the argument, and think and consult with experts and get guidance and be marbe etza marbe tfuna. The more advice you have, the more wisdom you come to, and it's not always easy. Not always easy. Brody, are you finding that in the federation world? Are people second guessing or asking, or what's the word on the street? What's going on there in the federation world?
Well, the federation is taking a great leadership role right now with this crisis. I don't know another organization that could do it better than the federation. And the community looks to our federation for guidance. And thank God we've got great leadership. They make very informed decisions. We have a very active board of directors. Some of our good friends are part of that board and that decision-making process. And I think it's a great example of where you have great lay leaders working together with Jewish professionals to work together to come. I'm just tired.
You're doing great, Brody. Last week your battery died. This week Last week your battery died. This
my
week
coffee, by the
I am
way.
so tired right now.
Yeah, is that a good place for us to wind? Is that a good place for us to wind?
We need to end on a light note. That's what I was told.
Yeah, we always need to end on a light note. We've had some serious conversations. We've had some lighter conversations. We really tried to tackle some issues, and even we are going to be criticized. I don't know if you're getting texts from teachers and educators like I am, but
I might be off the board soon.
We're actually just listen. I'm already not welcome in New York, so just trying to earn more friends here. To reiterate, we're really just trying to say there's different perspectives, different sides. Everybody should feel empathy and love, see it from the other side, and get along and partner in this time of challenge and crisis. It's a time to come together, not to be apart. It's a time to really be on the same page. We got another question that came in from our friend Rotem here. I just, maybe this is asking Dressed. It was not any chance that rabbis can make a rule that we only celebrate one day a Yontif given the circumstance this year. Wouldn't that be amazing?
Is that from Simone? Did she ask you that?
No. One group had a suggestion. Maybe we should add another Adar and push off. We're too late. We're already into Nissan now, so it's too late for that. We couldn't make it a leap year, add the other Adar. Some are saying, hey, 1 year. I've had a bunch of people tell me, isn't it okay to eat kitnios this year? Basically, everybody's getting in whatever their pet peeve is about Judaism. Hey, can't we do away with Kol Isha because of coronavirus? Like, whatever your pet peeve is with Judaism, the thing that you think doesn't make sense to you, you're like, coronavirus, can I do whatever it is that I've been told I can't do that I want to do? Mixed answer. Whatever I want to be doing, I can do. It's coronavirus. So what do you say, Rabbi Moskowitz? Can we do one day Yontif this year?
No, but I get more questions about kitnios and about swimming. A lot of swimming on Yontif questions. A lot of people are really nervous to read a Yontif. How you going to occupy your kids? Getting really hot here in Florida. So I don't know. Here, let me ask you this one. We've had now 3 Shabboses with our family. What are some suggestions for people how to fill those long Shabbos afternoons? We're going to have 3 Yontif days coming up. It's going to be a lot of family time together. What are some suggestions? Fun suggestions.
Well, I'll tell you this, before we get to the suggestions, I want to take a moment to say, and we spoke about it last week, we came up with a solution that we shared since last week. I don't want to call it a solution. That's unfair exaggeration, but we came up with a strategy. But I do want to say that, if you're living in the home, even with one other person, and you think Shabbos or Yontif is long, I want you to think about a person who lives alone. And what not only Shabbos and Yontif, what every day is for them. And our heart goes out to, we're thinking about it in our thoughts and our prayers, and we're constantly trying to figure out what we can do to help people who live alone. I mean, that's one of the casualties of coronavirus is loneliness. It's loneliness even when you're in a house or room full of people, and it's loneliness for the people who are utterly alone. As singles have said to me, because there are really insensitive people who don't live alone who will say, oh, I would love it to just read and sleep. And a single person will tell you there's only so much reading and sleeping you can do on a regular long Shabbos. Talking about a 3-day Yontif. how much reading and sleeping could you do on a 3-day yontif when you're not going crazy, craving conversation, dialogue, human contact? So it's not a simple thing. We came up with some strategies. We shared that in an email. It's a really, really hard thing to do. But in terms of yontif and Shabbos for us, I think there's an interesting rabbinic thing, which is I may not be coming back from the rabbinate when this is all over, because I discovered this thing called Shabbos. I discovered this thing called like spending time with your family, having Shabbos shuddas. I discovered you could daven Shabbos morning and then learn and then take a nap and then have lunch. Isn't that crazy? It's insane. You could have like an enjoyable Shabbos afternoon. I found this whole lifestyle that I was out there and didn't know existed. So I'm not dreading it. I feel a little guilty about how excited I am for it. Of course, I'm sad we won't all be together. I'm sad we won't be in shul. But there are some ways. I'll say and then pass it over. Ein kedusha b'li achana. I think you got to prepare. So if you prepare games, you prepare topics for conversation, you prepare good stories, you prepare stimulating questions, you prepare these kinds of things, then
yeah, that's the first 25 minutes. You got another 14 hours to go.
10 a.m.
I did that, by the way. Yeah, we were done by 8:35.
Yeah, what do you, Moskowitz? We're gonna wind this down because someone just texted me, "Hey, stud, it's time to wind this down." I won't say his name. I won't say who it is, but
the name rhyme with Al.
No, the name rhymes with Schmabity, but I won't say who it is. But anyway, Moskowitz, so what are your suggestions about how we do this?
Listen. Oh.
It's a long day. Lots of family walks, lots of games, and lots of books. That's the best that I got. We've been, but I'm with you. I'm loving. I miss the shul. I miss people. I miss Tefillah B'tzibor. But Shabbos is, who knew? Who knew it was so great? Who knew it was so phenomenal? Shalosh Shudas outside with my kids singing, laughing together. We played more games of Monopoly, and I mean, there's something really beautiful about it. But 3 days of Yontif is a little bit long.
Yeah, we got some suggestions coming in here actually on the Facebook chat. 2,000-piece puzzle. That'll take you a little while. We've got join Boca Bookies. It's a WhatsApp for lending out books for one another. There's a lot of reading. Reading is fundamental. Brody, you should know that. Reading is fundamental. And it's a lot of reading. I started reading
a book last week.
Yeah, so it's, I don't. The library's closed, but Amazon's open, or lending books to one another with gloves and a little Purell and some social distancing. But using books is a good way. Learning Torah. All the people who say I never have time, now that there's time on our hands. Again, we're not talking about singles. It's not easy. We're talking about other people to fill that time. Brody, what are your suggestions?
Well, I told my family, I said, we're going to have time that we're going to spend together. There's going to be time for board games. We play.
Basically, you have nothing to add to this conversation.
Rummy Cub. There's a machlokas how to pronounce that game.
Rummy Cube.
But then I say we're all going to have alone time. That's also important. Everyone gets alone time.
That's your way. That's how you secure your nap?
No, not now. I just need alone time. And that's when I read. I spent the time doing a daf. And then I've started this new book, which I've had. Actually, I have 2 copies for some reason. Kosher Jesus by Shmuel Batayach. And at the same time, I was reading Triumph for Survival. So I'm reading about Shabtai Tzvi at the same time. It's very interesting to see all these false messiahs.
Brody, you never underestimate me. Every time.
Anyone out there wants another copy, I got 2 copies.
Of which one?
Sure. Kosher Jesus.
Okay, just as long as it's Kosher Jesus that you're reading of his, that we're good. Rabbi Moskowitz, what do you? That's a good place to end. It's a nice, this is the stud place to end, as we've been reminded. So maybe, given that a 3-day yontif coming up, a lot of time to learn to read. Share what you're reading right now. What's a good read you recommend to others in this 3-day yontif?
Ooh, let me give a Jewish book and a Israel book and a non-Israel book. How about that? So I'm currently reading. Someone gifted me a book, Pumpkin Flowers, which I just started a few days ago. It's about an Israeli army soldier in a different perspective, talking about different perspectives tonight. So shout out.
I tell you that's a book I ain't gonna be reading.
So I'm reading that, and also I called my mother-in-law. My mother-in-law is a voracious reader, and she's part of all these book clubs in Lawrence. I called her up for some recommendations, and she told me one of her favorite authors is Eric Larson, and he has a new book out about Churchill. So someone actually just sent that to me in the mail as well. So I look forward to reading that. I'm very excited about. I read In the Garden of Beasts, which was, I think, his last book, and I'm very excited to read his new book about Churchill. And I know you're both laughing at me. Yes, I'm a history book nerd, and I'm proud of it.
I also got some books in the mail recently. We both have a friend who's really nice. Once a year before Pesach, he sends us He probably thinks we're both ignorant fools, uneducated, sends us our books to try to keep us educated. It's interesting the choices he makes for each of us, what he thinks that each of us, the gaps we need to fill in our knowledge. So we're grateful to him. I was reading when we were in Israel for the Broide wedding, which was amazing. Ayala, shout out to Ayala and Jake, great wedding. So we visited Esha Torah. We had some meetings at Esha Torah, and we were handed copies of the brand new book. I mean, I got a copy, and Moshe got a copy of the brand new book on Rav Noach Weinberg Zatzal, his biography by our friend Jonathan Rosenblum, wrote a great book. So I actually been reading that. Almost just finished that, and really interesting. I tell you, if you want to get pumped, Brody, you should read that book, because
I want to see it. Yeah.
If you want to get into outreach and really get this fire lit under you, that every one of us has to move that needle on assimilation and outreach and all of that, and you understand his story and what he went through and what he had to fight. It's unbelievable. I see Jonathan Rackman just joined us. Rack, you got a shout out before when I taught everybody the proper way to drink a scotch. So thank you for joining us. We polished off the bottle. So Rav Noach Weinberg, I finished that. Also been trying to use this extra time over Shabbos to do a little extra learning and Chazara. Normally the Daf Yomi is moving at such a fast pace. Those doing the Zichru, a little extra time. I've been learning with my son-in-laws in town, which is a great schus and a great pleasure. I enjoy it a lot. And I've also catching up. My friend Dan once gave me a book that I've only had time to catch up now and read. What's the name of the book again? It's the whole the targeted assassinations of the Mossad. Remember the name of it?
Rise and Kill.
Rise and Kill. It's the thickest book I think I ever saw in my life. Brody, if you sat on that, you'd be like half normal height. It's the thickest book I ever saw in my life. It's an amazing book. It's really you swell with pride. You swell.
Dude, it only took you 76 minutes to reference to get in the height.
Right? Now, what can I tell you?
You're game tonight.
But it's you swell with pride about like the Jewish army and what they're capable of doing, and you also filled with fear about our young Jewish soldiers who are risking their lives still under the cover to protect us. It's an amazing, amazing book. So I finished that Rav Noach Weinberg book, reading that book, and I'm looking forward to getting into the box that just came of the new books, my assigned reading for this Yontif. So that's a good place to end. I want to thank our amazing panelists. What?
We'll compare notes on the 2 boxes of books.
Yeah, we will. I'm looking forward to that. I want to thank our panelists, Rabbi Josh Broide, the outreach Rabbi Boca Raton Synagogue, who also has another job. I forget where else he works. And a special thank you to Rabbi Philip Moskowitz. Thank you to our corporate sponsor tonight, who benefited, at least Rabbi Moskowitz. I benefited too. I got the.
Yeah, if that guy wants to sponsor my morning show now, we need some coffee.
Joe, we're interested in beverage recommendations. If you want to sponsor a beverage recommendation, yeah, this just came in from our dear friend Matthew Hockerman, who joined us. I know now that Rabbi Gibber's show is over, he's joined us, and no, I'm saying there was a show going on tonight. Rebbitzin Weinberg, Rav Noach Weinberg's Rebbitzin, is very much in need of a refuah shlema. She's very ill, so we definitely pause and daven for her. We wish her a complete and speedy recovery and the best. Thank you for reminding us of that. We appreciate that very much. So if you would like to be a sponsor of coffee, what's this thing called?
Cafe Joe.
Of Coffee Talk, then let us know. You could sponsor the program. If you want to be a beverage or product placement sponsor, whatever your product is, if it's an appropriate product, we'll do a product placement. We'll leave something, your brand, your logo. It could be a hat, article of clothing. It could be a beverage. But there are 3 product placement opportunities here with the 3 screens.
Yeah, I'll do a hat. Anyone's got hats.
Let us know. Sponsor it. You want, food shows up at the door. We'll leave the wrapping, the bag. We'll let people see where the food came from. Whatever shows up.
Or either one.
Yeah, hat. It could be, a new laptop, phone, whatever, book, whatever it is, the product placement. We are very into product placement. So to our audience, we thank you for joining us as we've done this week 2. We are week 2 of not knowing or believing that anyone actually would be interested in
By the way, Mordechai Weinsteiner, I got to give a shout out. If anyone there needs him to do your shopping, just call him. Mordechai
I also want to give a shout out. I think Leo Goldberg tonight takes the cake for snark in the comments. I really believe that.
Leo's done a good job. Also, thank you. Josh Light has recommended some reading here. The Plague by Albert Camus, who I want to point out, I'm educated so I can pronounce his name correctly. And all those who watched, really, thank you for being with us. Thank you for this fun. And it's a very difficult time, a very serious time. And now we're
serious. Can I ask you guys this one serious question?
Yeah.
Just in the
By the way, I'll tell our friend, who actually is trying to give us a product placement, but it would mean one of his home healthcare aides sitting, I guess, on the desk for product placement, but anyone's free to go anytime. We're not keeping you, but yeah, so keep going, Brody.
I was wondering in the last week, I mean.
Yeah, the money, Tamar Goldberg saying the money goes to BRS. It sounds like we want it. Yeah, sponsorship of Coffee Talk is not helping us. It's going to help the needy families.
Yeah, easy for you to say. I'm taking the money.
Yeah, well, okay.
Okay.
Yeah, Brody, what did you want to say?
Bills to pay. Yeah. No, seriously, just really quickly. I mean, in the last week, have you guys been able to figure out any more than 4 states, 4 capitals?
Capitals.
Anyone?
That might be in a family cahoot that's coming up. Do we have a family cahoot coming up?
We have a family cahoot coming up, and there are many people from Boston, I will say, that were very disappointed in my answers last week.
By the way, does anyone have any idea the capital of Vermont?
Capital of Vermont?
Does anyone out there? See if anyone could just, there's no way anymore. And even when they text it into you, you won't even know
Montpellier.
I would say.
How do you pronounce it?
I think it's Montpellier. I'm just trying, 1 second. Let me just try to remember. I think is it Montpellier?
I think so.
It is. I didn't know how to even pronounce that one.
What's the slogan for Vermont, though?
This bud's for you.
Now, come on, Benjamin, you know this one. What's the
slogan of Vermont? Is that the rich shouldn't have all of the wealth, and it should be distributed.
No, isn't it live free or die? I think it's live free or die.
Freedom and unity, I think it is. No,
I think it's live free. That's what the license plate says.
No, live free. Isn't that like
my research team is telling me it's freedom and unity.
Oh, but what is? Oh, New Hampshire is live free or die. They're right next to each other.
Rhode Island. By the way,
Rhode Island. I'm thinking also.
I just want to say that we've been talking for 80 minutes. No one had a comment, a thought, feedback, a question. You mentioned state capitals, and all of a sudden the chat comes.
Everyone's going crazy.
Alive. That's all anybody cares about. State capital.
That's right.
What is the state capital of South Dakota?
South Dakota is Pierre.
I have no idea, but I know that I met the rabbi from Dakota, South Dakota. Wasn't he the rabbi of South Dakota?
Dude, your brother-in-law knows these.
Benjamin?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's actually
on Google right now.
Is he on Google or he just knows them?
Yeah, he's just a faster typer than I am.
The reason that he wins the Q every year, although we're having his team tested for steroids, they've been juicing. That's my theory. Yeah. But there's a reason he wins the Q. He's a smart guy. It's not bad. It's not bad. Hopefully it passes in the genes to the nieces and nephews. I don't know how that would happen, but anyway. Okay, anything else on topic tonight before we wind down and call it a night?
Don't worry, your mom's about to call you, Phil.
I know, I'm going to be
brushing up on those states.
No dessert for me tonight.
No dessert for you.
Yeah, you're in trouble. So to summarize, thank you so much. Wishing everyone a Chag Kosher v'Sameach. We'll see when we schedule the next coffee talk, because next Wednesday night, our normal slot will be the Seder night, Pesach night. So there'll be matzah.
1 second, can we do this if we just leave our Zooms on?
That's a shaila. We should ask the Sephardi rabbis.
Last week.
We'll have our cups of wine instead of the.
We'll ask those Sephardi rabbis what the ruling is that leaving the Zoom coffee talk on Zoom on Yantif.
And I'll be here. I'll be like, where are the other 2 guys?
Well, maybe we'll do a special. We'll just do some shameless plugs. Rabbi Moskowitz teaches a Tehillim class tomorrow morning. What time is your class tomorrow morning?
9:30 a.m. tomorrow morning. Tehillim. Definitely important nowadays to storm the gates ahead.
How would somebody join?
What was that?
How would someone join that?
They could either go on my Facebook feed or on a Zoom. They're welcome to join the BRS Zoom programming WhatsApp group where we send out all the opportunities, or on my Facebook feed tomorrow morning.
Amazing. Brody, you have anything coming up you want to share?
Yeah, virtual.jewishboca.org. It's got the listing of BRS's upcoming virtual programs as well as every single virtual. So when you're finished with Rabbi Moskowitz's thing, you say, I want something else to do until the next great BRS program. We can fill your time.
You're doing Friday Night Live on Zoom?
We are. In fact, this week we're doing something special. Like we just became a co-sponsor.
Tell everybody what Friday Night Live is.
I love it.
Whether you're in the room with me or you're watching, if you want to leave.
Let me tell you something. Friday Night Live. Let me just tell you this. Normally, when you start one of these Zoom classes, you mute everyone. We make sure no one's muted. That's the best part. So you've got people that are singing Lecha Dodi. People are singing all these great songs, which we do every Friday night in their dining room, wherever they might be sitting in the living room. And then there's parts where we'll be like, okay, now we're going to stand up. We're going to dance. So you could just imagine there are people that are single. Maybe they're living with someone. Maybe they have a spouse. They're literally singing Shabbos songs and dancing on Friday afternoon coming into Shabbos.
Yeah, it's not on Shabbos itself. Just clarify.
Always before Shabbos.
Always before Shabbos. Amazing. That Friday Night Live. We had another suggested reading came in from Ted Struhl. I can't tell which Ted Struhl. Boca Ted Struhl, Boynton Ted Struhl. I'm not sure which, but he has a suggested reading for the 3D Yontif. He says, why don't you check out a little book known as The Haggadah? It's a good one. It's definitely a good one. There's a lot of commentary on it. That's a good one. So we got Friday night. We got Tillim tomorrow morning, 9:30 a.m. on Zoom and Facebook Live. We got Friday Night Live Friday night. Tomorrow I'll be doing a question and answer at 1 p.m. with my cousin, Rabbi David Beshefkin. Rabbi Beshefkin is one of the great thinkers of our time, also tremendously humorous, has a column in the Mishpacha magazine. And we'll begin our question and answer tomorrow with the question of how exactly are we related? And that's really my question to him, and I'm so excited to hear his answer too. So that's 1 p.m. tomorrorow. Question and answer.
The question just came in, Rabbi Goldberg. You collect Haggadahs. What is your favorite Haggadah? What are your favorite Haggadahs for people out there?
Oh, it's the Boynton Ted. I just found out it was the Boynton Ted Struhl. My favorite Haggadah, I'll tell you the truth. I can't really, can I turn this right now? I've got like a couple shelves. I've got almost a bookcase of Haggadah. I love Haggadahs. Because you know that the Haggadah, do you know this? Here's a fact. Did you know? True fact. The Haggadah is the text, that the Jewish text that is the most commentary of any text. More than Chumash. Everybody.
Fran would know that.
Everybody's written a Haggadah. Everybody writes a Haggadah. So, and through people's Haggadah, you learn so much about their perspective, their approach, their attitude, their way of thinking on life. So I collect Haggadahs, and I love Haggadahs. Every year I get some new Haggadahs. My father, who should live well and healthy for many years, and we're together, please God, mostly for Pesach. Every year for a gift, he gets me a new Haggadah. I haven't gotten one this year. I don't know if he...
You should write a Haggadah, which is the best of all the Haggadah.
Yeah. So there are some great Haggadahs, out there.
Your favorites?
So what are some of my favorite Haggadahs? Rabbi Sachs's Haggadah is like an obvious, that's like a slam dunk. Rabbi Sachs has an amazing Haggadah. All the Haggadahs, I don't know. If the Haggadah is the most commented on text, then Rabbi Soloveitchik's commentary on the Haggadah must have more Haggadahs than anything else in the world. Rabbi Soloveitchik on the Haggadah is really fantastic. Rabbi Innocence Sachs in Pesach has a beautiful Haggadah. I've gotten into Rabbi Kanievsky's Haggadah. Chaim's Haggadah. I was looking at the Ben Ish Chai's Haggadah. Rav Menachem Kasher's Haggadah. Mesivta has a beautiful, incredible Haggadah. The Shibbolei Haleket Haggadah of Shmuel Golden, Unlocking the Key. He's got an amazing Haggadah. My friend and teacher, Rabbi.
I'll tell you, I've been using.
Of Eli has a beautiful Haggadah. Amazing.
I am a Haggadah minimalist. I've been using the same Haggadah.
House?
Now, Art Scroll Children's, 5 years old. The same Haggadah since I was 5 years old. It has my matzah and grape juice and charoset stains for the last 34 years. But for me, I'm a minimalist. I like to sit there at the Seder with the authentic text.
Hold on a second. You didn't ask me which Haggadah I bring to the Seder. That's a different question.
The Seder.
No. That's a totally different question. I'm with you. I like the old, not the Maxwell House. What's the other one with the like numbered lines? What do they call that?
Publix one?
Not the Publix one. But I'll tell you what I'm into this year is because, you know, my grandson, I know I don't look old enough to have a grandson. I get that all the time. But my grandson, his name is Aryeh Tzvi. And he's not named for him, but he had the same name, the Kasher Glover. The Kasher Gaon. He was the Rav Aryeh Tzvi Frimmer, was the Rosh Yeshiva of Chachmei Lublin, and he has a Haggadah, which I happen to notice I have, but I hadn't really looked at. The Haggadah of the Eretz Tzvi, of the Kasher Glover, Aryeh Tzvi. So with my grandson sitting on my lap, Aryeh Tzvi, I've been trying to take a look at the Haggadah of Aryeh Tzvi. So that became my favorite one so far.
My wife said I should show you the gross crumbs that have collected over the last 34 years in my Haggadah.
Nice. It's amazing. You know, there's a minhag that when you get stains on your kittel from the Seder, you're not supposed to wash it, because when you come on Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, those stains of a good worn out kittel from the Seder are your schus. They represent you and they advocate for you on the Yom Yimei Hadin. You ever hear?
So I used to do that until I spoke in front of 2,000 people in the Yom Noraim, and then my family was like, "You need a stainless kittel." It's embarrassing already.
I'm just taking a bottle of grape juice, pouring it all over my kittel.
That'll be the biggest. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us. Please continue to tune in to the many classes, learning opportunities. Got a little insight into how we make our decisions. Again, we call on everybody to hear both sides. Let's work together. We're a team. Wishing everyone only the best health and security and happiness and prosperity and peace of mind and faith in Hashem and growth in Torah and nachas from the kinder and shalom bayis and good health and the should be a good Shabbos Agadol. Oh, Shabbos Agadol, 9 p.m. Motzei Shabbos, optimism, glass is half full, lessons of Kos Eliyahu, 9 p.m.
No hackers.
Join us. Be there. B square. Have a good night, everybody.
See you next time.